Bellator featherweight contender, Arlene Blencowe. Thank you so much, Arlene, for coming on. How are you doing today? I just see you got off training.
I did, yeah. I just actually finished my first spider workout here down at Freestyle. The guys have been psyching me up for it. I've been hearing a lot about it. The guys at Kick City Boxing do it. It's a conditioning session and that. And so I just did finish that. And yeah, now I know why everyone talks about it.
Yeah, I see that you've been going down to Freestyle down there for like the last few months. What's the connection there?
Well, I've come down to Freestyle now. The first time was for about 6 years ago. So, obviously it's the home of the UFC featherweight champ Alex Volkanovski. More recently, my daughter actually started going to university down here. So I've been traveling down here to see her, and then I was like, well, Freestyle's got one of the strongest, most technical gyms here in Australia. Obviously, yeah, it's a home, like I said, the home of Alex, and Joe's an awesome guy, awesome coach, and we knew this fight camp I'd need to sort of bring on, guys my weight, featherweight, lightweight, because, credit to Cris, she's a very strong female. So, they have a lot of technical guys here and a lot of different bodies and different styles and for me to train with. And, yeah, like I said, very, very technical gym.
How has training been with Volkanovski? The guy is an animal.
Oh, it's been awesome. As I said, I just literally finished an interview before training, and I've always said that if I was to mirror any fighter in the UFC, it would be Alex, because I just love how he transitions from his striking to his wrestling, how he always looks like he's 3 steps ahead of his opponent. He's already forward thinking, and it's like he's already ready for any scenario that happens in a fight. He's already got an answer, and then comes back with a question straight away, and that fight IQ is just awesome. So, and his gas tank too, absolutely amazing. Like, he literally 5-round fights, and he just goes and goes and goes like a little Energizer battery. So yeah, I knew that they were obviously doing the right things down here, and Joe's always opened up the gym and welcomed me to come down here, and the guys, the whole team have been more than awesome and amazing with supporting me and helping me for this fight.
I spoke to Volkanovski and Joe before his last fight, the title defense versus Holloway, and he was talking about how they had to get all these like special permissions from the government to train and actually have a training camp. Did you go through the same protocol?
I did train through COVID with the quarantine. So yeah, obviously the gyms over here were closed down and that. I was lucky that I've got a setup at home. I've got a gym at my house and that. So my coaches were able to come over, and I was lucky too, because that was also before this fight was actually set in place. So for the most part, this whole fight camp hasn't been affected by COVID. I've still been able to have access to all the gyms and travel down here to Windang and train here. The gyms back at home are open, but more so the only thing was obviously international travel. I had to apply for travel exemptions to obviously get over to America. Both my coaches had to apply for that as well. When we come home, we'll have to do a 2-week hotel quarantine. But for the most part, the camp hasn't been affected at all. Through COVID, he was still very much training hard and getting everything done.
Yeah, talk about how Bellator helped you get your traveling in order, because they weren't going to allow you to leave Australia, right?
Yeah, well, I'm very, very grateful and thankful too that, obviously we knew that I was the number one contender. Scott Coker said it in an announcement, post-fight interview with Cris Cyborg earlier in the year. But we thought, and I was also preparing too, that obviously it was going to be quite some effort to have to get an Australian the whole way over to America during these times with COVID. So I thought that I may, miss the opportunity of being the first title contender, and they might give that opportunity to an American fighter. So Bellator have been very, very good with, obviously keeping that spot open for me, and, letting that fight happen when we could eventually have it happen. And, the fact that they've got the Fight Sphere happening at the Mohegan Sun, and those shows have been working really well. And, Bellator put together all the legal documents for me to apply with the Australian Border Security to obviously be allowed to fly. So, yeah, they've been more than supportive and accommodating. And they have always been like that with me for the 5 years that I've, been with the promotion. And that's the reason why I'm still with Bellator, is because they are, they do look after their fighters, and, have always looked after me.
Have you been preparing for Cyborg since January, before they even put pen to paper?
I've been preparing for Cyborg my whole career. Like,
Okay.
but yeah, no, we knew, like, after my last fight with Leslie, and it was before Cyborg had actually signed. We thought we would be preparing for Julia, because I knew that I'd get another title shot. Obviously, Cyborg coming into the equation and fighting Julia changed things. But yeah, more than likely, I've been mentally preparing and somewhat physically preparing since the beginning of the year for the Cyborg fight. If it wasn't the fight that was going to eventuate as my next fight, we knew that it would eventually happen. As soon as she got signed to Bellator, there's only a handful of fighters in the Bellator division that are really ready to fight Cyborg. I think there is such a divide in the division. So yeah, we knew that fight would eventuate. It's even better that it's for the title.
Yeah, definitely. Now, with your head coach, James Tahuna, he's a legend in that area.
Yeah.
How has he benefited you throughout the years? Like in what aspects?
Yeah, obviously, yeah, he was a pioneer for Australian UFC or New Zealand UFC. He his the mental approach to his fights. That was probably the biggest thing. The preparation going into it. His stories, just sitting there listening to his stories, was definitely an eye-opener for me. Very, very lucky to have him as my head coach. I've also got Tyson Pedro in my corner coming over. So Jamie's actually unable to come over to my fight now, just with the quarantine. So he's been coaching me, which is a super bummer, because he's been obviously working with me for years now, and we've been both preparing for this fight since the beginning of the year. And it's just unfortunate that with COVID. So that's probably the biggest thing. The 3 weeks having to be away, he's unable to come over. Obviously, though, he's done everything in my preparation to get me ready. But I've got Tyson coming over with me, and Coach Winklejohn from Jackson Wink. So yeah, I've got more than a capable corner helping me. So I'm just very, very lucky to have everyone that has helped me.
Definitely all stars. Now, I see you've been working at Zoo Fitness, Ethos Performance. Has there been any other locations you've been frequenting?
I go to Bondi Boxing in at Waterloo. So Tony Del Vecchio is my boxing coach. He's been my coach for a few years now. He just gets my punches on point and punching hard. I've also brought on board Glenn Barragry. He does my Muay Thai striking. So he's actually got one of the best setups I've seen, which is actually at his place. He's got a gym set up in like this massive big shed at the back of his place. The shed of pain, I call it. But so Mia Orney at Ethos does my strength and conditioning. All my training with like Jamie and Avatar Desi, my wrestling coaches at Zoo Fitness. And then, more so recently coming down here to freestyle in Windang, obviously to train with Joe and Alex and all the boys here. I have, I've floated up to Ross Pearson's gym, Central Coast MMA, done some sparring up there. But for the most part, I've been very, very lucky where I've had, the doors open to me for, sparring training sessions wherever I go.
It seems like recovery has become, more important for you lately. How has that, affected you, or what is the impact on you entering a fight?
Yeah, I've done a lot of, I've been doing this for almost 12 years now. And, when I first started, I never even had rest days, because I was just go. And, I would still be like that now. But just realizing how important, I probably have probably not 50-50 ratio with my training / recovery. But I'm doing some form of recovery, a couple of different forms of recovery every day. Obviously, as my body's getting older, but it's not even the fact that I'm getting older. It's just that I'm training harder. Like what I put my body through, huge difference in listening to your body, resting and recovery, fueling your body properly, hydrating your body properly, and just, making sure that you're getting through each session. And, very, very big focus.
All right, let's talk about the fight now. Bellator 249, Cris Cyborg. Stylistically, how do you see this matchup?
Oh, man, I hope, it's going to be an exciting one. Who doesn't want to see, I know that, MMA, there's so many different aspects, but at the end of the day, everyone just loves hands getting thrown. And yeah, I'm excited for this. You know, everyone in my early days of MMA was like, when are you going to fight Ronda Rousey? And I'm like, she's not in my weight division. Like, for me, it's always been Cris Cyborg. She was that, you know, I remember watching her return to the cage. It was after her USADA suspension. So it was her first fight back on Invicta. And I hadn't had an MMA fight yet. I was actually in training and a week out from my first MMA fight. And I remember watching her and this, because, yeah, I don't even really watch, you know, bantamweights. And, yeah, it was the first time I'd seen a featherweight, so my weight division fight. And she went in and destroyed her opponent. And I was like, who is this chick? And then, yeah, obviously she's been on my radar this whole time. Like, I'm a big fan of, yeah, her work. I love, you know, I'm a fan of who she is outside of the cage, what she's done since becoming a world champion. And, yeah, I'm excited and honoured to be stepping into the cage with her. But I'm more than happy to be taking away everything that she's worked for and, yeah, setting my path and me becoming that champion and leaving a legacy behind.
It's that mindset of, you know, you got to beat a legend to become a legend, right?
100%. And it's not even, like, for me, she's the number one. Every fighter should want to fight the best in their division, the best in the world. That's what being a fighter is. And, you know, I've never dodged fighters or, you know, or opponents or, you know, padded my record. I've just got in there and fought because that's what I stand for, you know, injury or no injury, you know, prepared or not prepared. It's like pretty much, excuse the language, but fuck it, just fight. Like, and that's my mentality. So, you know, it's got me to where I am today. And, yeah, I'm super excited about this fight. Not everyone gets the opportunity in their career to fight for a world title. Not everyone gets the opportunity to fight on the world stage, and not everyone gets the opportunity to fight the best in the world. And I'm super blessed and lucky and grateful that I have those opportunities. But in saying that, I've also credited the fact that I do work hard and I've earned this right to be here where I'm at.
How pivotal will your high-level boxing background, your experience be against Cyborg?
Oh, huge. Like, yeah, it's obviously my strength. You know, I'm anger fist. Everyone knows my hands talk. Obviously, we've spent a lot of time working on every other aspect, but I mean, you know, having good hands in MMA in those 4-ounce gloves is, you know, definitely beneficial. You know, and having, you know, your belief in all the other aspects. You know, you backing your back wrestling, backing your jiu-jitsu, you know, backing everything else so that you can let those hands go. It's definitely, you know, a positive, a bonus.
When I look at you and your track record and your skill set, you know, I kind of see a lot of similarities with Amanda Nunes, to be honest with you. You know, with the hands, you got the power, because Cyborg hasn't really faced a lot of women that have power in their hands. Maybe Holly Holmes has power in her feet, but that's about it. So do you look at that fight, Cyborg and Amanda Nunes, as something that you could pick apart and see the holes?
100%. I said it for years. Obviously, Cris is a very scary woman. You know, she puts fear in a lot of her opponents. And, you know, the fact that she has that track record of knocking her opponents out, you know, does scare people. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going into this fight, you know, thinking anything less of her. Like, I'm very well aware of what she can do and the damage she can do. But I always said that you just need to stand and take it to her. And that's exactly what Amanda did. You know, that fight, it's a shame that it didn't get rerun. It would have been a very interesting fight if the rematch had happened because, you know, if you actually break down those last few exchanges, they were both swinging off the fence, you know, swinging, and either one could have been tagged. But Amanda did the right thing. She took it to Cris and exposed something that had never been exposed before. And, yeah, I've just got to go in there and fight my fight and, you know, listen to my coaches But yeah, at the end of the day, if I've got to start swinging, I'll be swinging. So yeah,
I think exciting. That's the X factor. I think in this fight is that you do have that power in your hands, and if you guys start exchanging, that's gonna be dangerous for Cris.
Yeah, could be dangerous for me too. So it's a fight that we've got to be smart, and you know, I feel like I am a smart fighter. I don't generally, you know, I will throw punches, you know, wild punches if I have to, but for the most part, every punch of mine is a controlled punch that, you know, it's got a reason behind it and a target. I don't just swing and hope.
Are you expecting the knockout? Do you in your mentally when you head in, you're like, okay, I'm going to get this knockout. This is something that I need to have. Because if you do get it, you set the record.
Yeah, well, it's a hard one. You shouldn't ever go looking for knockouts. Like even last, when I set that record for the 22-second, the quickest finish in female Bellator history, I wasn't looking for that, because if you actually had been inside my head walking out to that fight, fighting was the last thing. I actually I did not even feel like fighting that night, and it was funny that it just happened. And it's interesting, sort of visiting my mental approach going into the fights, and it'll be interesting on the night. I'm doing a lot of visualization, in preparation for the fight, and if the crazy wild me comes out, and I'll be swinging and I'll go for the knockout. But then there's also the smart fighter that a knockout against Cris Cyborg would be absolutely amazing. But then what about completely outclassing her for 5 rounds and completely dominating it? That's just as good of a win too. So we'll just see what happens on the night. It'll be a good fight. I'm doing everything here in my preparation to be completely ready, and I've left no stone unturned.
I know that fighters don't like talking about the future, after a fight, but it seems like if you do beat Cris, it could turn into a rematch. But then there's always the Julia Budd fight that I would like to see. You know what I mean? So, if you had a preference, what would you choose?
Oh, I had this conversation the other day. Obviously, Julia is unfinished business. But then, I look at obviously a rematch with Cris. When I beat her, that could be quite lucrative. And I think the rematch would be the smarter fight for that sense. Even when you just look at, for example, Holly and Ronda Rousey. Holly beat Ronda, and then she didn't have that rematch. Not that I'm saying that I'd lose to Julia, but that rematch never happened, and it was just that fight. And the same thing with Cris and Amanda Nunes. The rematch is always an interesting fight. And, even looking back here with, Alex and Max Holloway, they rematched, and, then he, put it, the decision made. He was, he's the better fighter. He's the champion. So, sometimes I'll just see. I'll see what happens. At the end of the day, there's unfinished business with Julia. But, for me at the moment, as my partner always says to me, one fight at a time. I'm taking each, training session by training session, day by day, week by week, and then, one fight at a time. So for me, all I'm focused on is this fight now, winning this fight, and, go. And then we'll think about what happens next.
Definitely. Well, I'm, as a fan, like if you do win this fight and you do get a rematch, I don't see why Bellator doesn't go to Australia and sell out that stadium, but that's just thinking too far ahead. Anyways, you got this title fight coming up. It's massive. October 15th, Bellator 249, Mohegan Sun, Connecticut, USA. Thank you, Arlene, for the time, and good luck and all the best.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hey guys, Sasha Platnikoff here, letting you know to tune in to SCMP post-fight for all your weekly martial arts news.